Hello and welcome everybody to part 2, finally, of the Stephen King book collection. Yeah, it's now the 23rd of December, so sorry that this part took so long to get out. University and work got a little bit too hectic, but now I'm off uni, back home, so I can finally do part 2 now. No messing about, let's begin part 2. Starting off this part, we have Nightmares and Dreamscapes, which is a collection. Yeah, some of them do sound pretty good. It grows on you, apparently. And this is only in the back of my mind, but I think it's actually the epilogue to Needful Things. The Moving Finger sounds pretty interesting as well. Yeah, some of these I've never heard of. Next is Insomnia, which is quite linked to the Dark Tower universe, and I didn't know this when I actually picked it up. I said, no, I'll leave it, give it some time, because it was one of the books on my mind to read, but since it's quite heavily connected to the Dark Tower, and I've heard that it's best to read this one when you've experienced some of the Dark Tower books, then go into Insomnia, so I'm going to leave this one to a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to leave this one for a bit. Yeah, an interesting protagonist this time, as it's an old man, but a common opinion is that some people find it quite bloated and quite padded. Who is he? A Rose Matter. This one is about a woman trying to get away and escape from her husband, who is now tracking her down. Domestic abuse is quite a strong topic on this one. Next, I will show these together because they are linked, and if you know your Stephen King books chronologically, you know which ones I am on about. Desperation and The Regulators. Unfortunately, I do not have the US of The Regulators, which goes together like that, and oh, I would love that edition because it just goes so well with my copy of Desperation. But I don't have it, and this is the only one I got. It was in the bundle, so I said, you know, I have to have it, but they didn't have, the seller didn't have the other copy of The Regulators, which I really wanted. But I do have like this little small copy of Desperation. But yeah, Desperation I'm actually currently reading. It's been a while since I actually started, I just haven't had time for the book, really. But so far, yeah, I've come to a point, I've really teased myself here, I've come to a point where the book is really getting in gear. And it's very bleak and disturbing sometimes, this book. And the atmosphere, the environment is just seriously fantastic, and the world building is great. It's a little slow. Yeah, it takes its time, I got to admit. But that's quite... Yeah, I won't complain, really, because, you know, it's a thick book, so, you know, it takes quite some time to build stuff up and whatnot. But I've definitely come to a point where it's just seriously go into a really good area. Yeah, set in Nevada, this one, and about this crazy cop and this villain known as Tack. This one's really going somewhere. And how The Regulators connects to Desperation, I believe they're parallel. This is like a parallel universe of Desperation. I don't know how they link, but that's what I've heard of. Again, you don't really need to worry which one you read. I've heard that you can read this one first, and then Desperation second, and then Desperation first, and this one second. It's completely up to you how you do it. It's the same with Gerald's Game and Dolores Claiborne. You don't have to worry what order you... Doesn't matter which one you read first, even though they're both concurrent. You can still read whichever one you want first. But The Regulators, I went for Desperation first because I just like the sound of Desperation more than The Regulators. Apparently, Tack is even more powerful in The Regulators than Desperation. But yeah, it's like a similar story, but characters in different... It's told in a different point of view, characters in different situations. It's basically Desperation, but, you know, told from a parallel dimension. I'm not 100% sure if that's the way it works. And as well, Desperation features a character who isn't actually Rose Matter, which is Cynthia, I believe her name is. Yeah. When I finish Desperation, I might go to The Regulators. Next is Bag of Bones. Heard it's like a love story, love/ghost story, this one. I see a lot of people say that this is like one of the best Stephen King books, but on the other side, some people do not like Bag of Bones, and some people find it quite bad, which is really interesting. Very diversified opinions on Bag of Bones. So, it could go either way for me, really. Next, we have probably one of the most overlooked Stephen King books, probably because it's a very thin book, and Stephen King is known for his very, you know, thick books. It's The Girl Loved Tom Gordon. It's just about a girl getting lost in the woods. A very like survival, maybe horror story. But it does have this like presence in the background that someone is apparently watching the little girl. Very thin. It's about 220 pages. It's actually a little shorter than that. 213 pages. You can read this in a day. Just go right through it. Be like a very easy read. Again, I don't see a lot of discussion on this one because I think other books like Desperation, quite close to it, just completely overshadow it. That's just what it is, really. But yeah, you know, it's got some stuff on baseball and whatnot. I probably won't get the references to all that because I don't really like baseball or follow it. But it sounds quite good. Next is Hearts of Atlantis. I've got 2 copies because the one I got here in the bundle was quite tatty and I wasn't very happy with it. So I got a nice, lovely US edition of Hearts of Atlantis. It's a novella collection, I believe. The first story is a Dark Tower story. And the rest I don't think have anything to do with the Dark Tower. Maybe like reference it, but nothing heavy. Yeah, even though it's a novella collection, it's best to read these all in order because it's just like one big story. All the stories are connected to each other. Yeah, that's the Dark Tower story. Dreamcatcher. I'm basing this on the movie. Dreamcatcher is a load of crap. It's a complete piece of dog shit. One of the worst films I've ever seen. It's just so cheesy, ridiculous, shit weasels, just everything. Stupid humor. I do not like Dreamcatcher, and I will probably not read the book anytime soon. A problem about the book, to me, it looks like it'll be pretty bloated. It's quite of a long book, this one, about 600 pages. Almost 600 pages. This edition is 597 pages. The US edition, I think, is a little bit more thicker, actually. Do not want to read this. The only good thing about Dreamcatcher is Morgan Freeman's eyebrows. Black House. I will not be reading this one anytime soon because it's a sequel to another Stephen King book, which is The Talisman, which is a collaboration with Peter Straub. Same thing with this one, as you can tell with the title and the front cover. Yeah, I'm not going to read this one. It does have a Dark Tower villain in this one, though. Don't think I would say it, though. Yeah, not going to read it because it's a sequel to another book. From a Buick 8. It's another car one. Looks a bit like Christine, but I don't think it's about a haunted car or anything like that. Don't know too much about it. Haven't heard great things about it, though. Yeah, I haven't heard too much on this book. Everything's Eventual, which is a collection book, and I've read all these stories, I have. Yeah, there were some very good ones in this collection. Some of them were just okay, pretty good, and then others like, ugh, don't really care about. Autopsy Room 4 was a fantastic one, quite funny in some places. The Man in the Black Suit won an award, I think that one was alright. All That You Will Love Will Be Carried Away, that was pretty good. The Death of Jack Hamilton, that was okay. In the Death Room, one of my favourites. The Little Sisters of Illyria, that's a Dark Tower short story. Everything's Eventual, same name of the book. I did not finish that one, I just did not get into it. And 1408, one of my favourite films of all time, so I was definitely looking forward to that one. Yeah, very bizarre horror film, and it did scare me when I first watched it years ago. Like 2007, I think that's when it came out. Brilliant film, very bizarre horror film, like psychological, but I really do like 1408. Yeah, good collection. Some real good ones in there, like In the Death Room, I really liked. I just liked the whole premise to it. 1408, obviously. But Everything's Eventual, the one named after the book itself, I didn't really care about too much. Cell. Stephen King does a zombie book. Yeah, again, haven't heard too much about this one, really. I've heard it's not one of his best ones. Some people aren't really the biggest fan of this one. And another thing I hear, that it starts out pretty good, and then after it just goes a bit, ugh. Not a lot of people really care about it. And it's just not one of his best written books or stories. Lisey's story, kind of a thick one this one is. I think just reaching to the 600 page mark, this one. Yeah, just about. Pretty chunky, thick book this one is. Don't know too much about this one. It sounds, by looking at the bio, or the synopsis, it sounds pretty similar to Rose Matter a little bit. Now that Lisey's turned to face her husband's demons, yeah, might have some supernatural stuff to it. I've heard this one's quite a laid back story, not one with great tension or something like that. Yeah, won't be one I would rush to. Now we have the final Richard Bachman book. And yeah, The Regulators is one by Richard Bachman, his pseudonym. This is the last one, Blaze. Sounds a lot like Mice and Men, this one does. Especially like the main character. It's a crime book. And it's featured in 2 different like timelines, 2 settings. 2 different times. It's pretty short. Don't think it would take that long to read it, about 300 pages. Yeah, haven't heard too much about this one, only that it's a crime book. Just After Sunset, a very nice short collection story. I've heard that The Cat from Hell is a really good one. And I've heard good things about N as well. Again, some of my favourite stuff to read. Oh, next we have a real big book. This is his 3rd biggest book. It's Under the Dome. Yeah, I did watch season 1 or series 1 of Under the Dome. Yeah, it was alright, but then after that, completely lost interest because it just went so flaming stupid. It did. Just ridiculous, and it's a load of crap, it is. And the book is nothing like the TV series, so don't judge the book on its TV series, even though I'm sort of doing that with Dreamcatcher, but even the book to me doesn't sound very good. Yeah, as I said, it's his 3rd thickest book, just coming up to 900 pages. So a real big beast, this one is, a real beast. And yeah, if you don't know, his 2nd is, I'm basing this on the hardbacks, is It, which is 1,033 pages. And The Stand, which is 1,053 pages. The paperbacks are even thicker. They go to the 1,300 page area, I do believe. Yeah, it sounds a lot better than the movie, the TV series rather. Next up we have another novella collection, Full Dark No Stars. And in here it features 4 novellas, which is 1922, Big Driver, Fair Extension, A Good Marriage, and Afterward. Yeah, I've heard all these 4 stories are pretty dark and bleak, hence the title Full Dark No Stars, a very bleak title, and of course it would have very dark, bleak stories, so this one interests me. One of the more popular later Stephen King books, 11/22/63. This one's about a person going back and stopping the JFK assassination. Goes back in time. So this one's more of a time travel, sci-fi sort of story. This one, I've heard fantastic things about this one. Furthermore, it does a very nice reference to It. So I would want to read It before reading 11/22/63. Just to see what that reference is all about. I don't know what it is, but I know there's quite a big thing to do with It in this one, or something to do with It. Next is Dr. Sleep. This is the sequel to The Shining, featuring Danny, this time all grown up now. And the villains, I believe, are vampires. Yeah, this one has a real challenge. I don't think it will be able to do it. To be as good as the Shining, if not even better. I don't think it could be possible. Yep, this is the sequel to The Shining. What I hear is that this one is a pretty good book standalone, but if you think of it as the sequel to The Shining, a lot of people say it's rather underwhelming. So it depends how you really look at it, really, with this one. Maybe I would say it's a good sequel to The Shining. You have to see about it. Revival. One of his more thinner books, this one is. This one would be kind of a nice quick read. It's set in different times again, like decades and whatnot. And it has this guy who is obsessed with electricity and like revival and whatnot. Sounds quite religious, this one. The Bazaar of Bad Dreams. I've got the not very nice cover. I would say I love the other one. I think it's the US edition. It looks so lovely. Yeah, I say that a lot about US covers, but they're a lot nicer than the UK ones. It's a bit 50-50 really. Sometimes the UK ones are the nicest, sometimes the US. Same with Everything's Eventual. The US one is just so gorgeous. Yeah, this is an ex-library, so the dust jacket isn't very nice. I've heard this one has some mixed stories. Some of them are very good and some of them are just not very good at all, so I have to see about this one. Yeah, very mixed selection of stories in this one. Next is the most recent release. This is a collaboration with his son, Owen King, Sleeping Beauties. Have not read this one. Pretty thick. It's 718 pages. Not too familiar of what this one's about. I'll give it a shot soon. And to my only Dark Tower novel, it's the 5th one in the series, Wolves of the Calla. I know that you have to read Salem's Lot before you proceed into this book particularly. So I will do that. I love the illustrations to it though. Very nice. Trying to find some other ones. Very creepy. Some of them are really nice. That's another one. Yep, there's 8 in the series, I do believe. Let's think back. The Gunslinger being the prequel. Drawing a Free. The Wastelands. And, Wizards in Glass. Through the Keyhole being 4.5. Even though it was published after the last Dark Tower book. Wolves of the Calla. The Songs of Susanna. And the Dark Tower itself. Those are all the books. So yeah, now that's it with Stephen King, but I might as well show Joe Hill, because Joe Hill is Stephen King's son, so you say, you know, why not? So yeah, we're done with Stephen King, so we might as well show Joe Hill. He started out with a short story collection, but I don't have it, but this is his first novel, Heart-Shaped Box. Now, his real name is Joe Hillstrom King. But with his books, it's Joe Hill. The reason why he did that is because he didn't want to ride on his father's success, and he wanted to try and do it by himself and see if he can get anywhere. So I think that's very good, that is. That just shows that you don't want to be lackadaisical with it all, and just be, you know, quite lazy, just ride on someone else's fame just so that you can get famous yourself. You want to do it all yourself and build up your own pathway. So that's what I really like about Joe Hill. So that he did it all by himself. So that's pretty good. This is like a horror story, a horror book, rather. Heard some good things about this one, actually. Can't wait to check it out. About like this haunted suit someone buys, and then this these horrible events are following these 2 people and whatnot. So sounds good. I've only got 3 Joe Hill books. My second and penultimate is NOS4A2. A lot of people say his best novel. And one of his more complicated ones that, you know, this one sounds a little bit complex. And there is a prequel to this, which is called Wraith, which I don't have, which is actually a graphic novel. Yeah, this creepy figure here sends, like, people to a place called Christmas Land. And even though it sounds nice and jolly, it's very twisted, apparently. I'm not too sure how it goes, really, but that's what I've just heard of. Quite of a thick book this one is. A lot thicker than Heart-Shaped Box and Horns, which I don't have. And that was actually made into a film with Daniel Radcliffe. I do like the sound of Horns. It has a very good concept to it. Yeah, I do not have Horns. This one of his more bigger and complex books, this one. Love the sound of it. And the final Joe Hill book is The Fireman. apparently this is like a massive tribute to Stephen King's work. That's what I know of. But as a story and the ideas that it has, apparently it takes a lot from other writers, apparently. That's what I've heard. But yeah, I have no clue what this one's about. Well, I do know, though, it's similar to The Stand by Stephen King. And we have one last book, because this is a horror anthology book called The Book of Horrors. And Stephen King is actually featured in this. Also Robert Shearman as well. Stephen King did a short story collection in this, and it was called The Little Green God of Agony. And the story that Robert Shearman did is Alice Through the Plastic Sheet. Yeah, nice to see Robert Shearman, because when I purchased this, I didn't think Robert Shearman had anything to do with this release, but he actually did, so that's pretty cool, that is, because Robert Shearman is a fantastic writer. Jubilee, The Chimes of Midnight, these are Doctor Who Big Finish releases, and of course Dalek with the new series. Oh, Scherzo as well, one of my favourite Doctor Who stories of all time by Big Finish. So yeah, that's it. That's my Stephen King book collection. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and thanks for everyone to be patient with part 2. So yeah, I'll see you in the next upcoming video. It will either be the top 5 Doctor Who controversies, or it will be a Doctor Who book review of Invasion of the Cat People. And yeah, one of them will be uploading tomorrow on Christmas Eve. If not, I hope everyone has a great holiday. So thanks for watching, and of course, have a good one.